What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of United We Nerd. This is another review episode, and we're so excited to be here with you guys. Today, we had to get this in. All three of us love this so much that we had to get together and talk about episode 1 of The Last of Us. And as always, I'm here with my two amazing co-hosts, Joel, Acoustic Avenger. How you doing today, bud?
What's up,
And
Marcelo?
also here, Brian. How you doing, Brian? How we doing?
Marcelo,
Yes. Talk to me, baby.
ever since Monday morning, which
Yeah.
when I saw this, I've been living on fucking ecstasy right now.
Have you rewatched it since then?
Oh, I've been rewatching it through the pleasure of other review videos. So I've pretty much rewatched it like 6 times.
Damn.
Well, let me tell you, I watched the episode, all hell went loose, and then I was kind of calming down after everything happened here. And then, I pull up my phone and look at the news, and it's like real fungus from The Last of Us exists in real life. And I'm just like, yep, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah,
it's going to happen, guys.
You had your own little crisis yesterday.
Yeah, it's all good. We had a little gas leak, natural gas leak here in the house, and we got it figured out quickly, and we're good today. Yesterday, I could have crawled into a ball because it was pretty crazy, but we're good. We're here talking about our daddy, Pedro Pascal. And I'm super excited to get into this with you guys, just because I think we all had a very similar reaction to it. And I know we're all looking forward to what this season is going to bring.
Hell yeah.
Dude, just shout out to Pedro Pascal for pretty much, I feel like 2023 is going to be his year, because he has just been the poster child for every like awesome thing that's been happening in like streaming or just like in TV in general. So I feel like this year is like Diego's year.
Diego.
Oh, sorry, not Diego.
No.
Pedro Pascal. I'm sorry, because I keep getting mixed up because another actor who did other awesome job in the show, Gabriel Luna. When I hear Luna, I think of Diego. It's just like, and I have the Star Wars connection because we just had Andor, but then we also just saw the trailer for season 3 of Mando. So everything is just melding together. There's too many awesome things happening right now. But
listen, the month of March belongs to Pedro. Okay, we got Last of Us, we have The Mandalorian, and anything else he's in.
That's right.
Double trouble.
All right. First of all, the budget for this show was huge. It was like open book, like blank check budget for this show.
Oh shit! Really?
And it shows.
So I want to ask you, because this is an HBO project, is it bigger than Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, budget-wise it is. I think it was bigger than House of Dragon.
Wow.
That's damn big then. Holy shit.
Yeah, so it was about 10 to 15 million per episode.
Fuck.
Which for HBO, I mean it's not a huge shot, but I think it was higher than Game of Thrones. So don't quote me on that because I'm just a guy Googling shit sometimes. So yeah, I think you know what? I think the show, just kind of initial impression, I think the show's going to be a lot more appealing to most than Game of Thrones. As a big Game of Thrones fan myself, like I think the high fantasy really like throws people off, But I think this is America. This is 2023. Like it's zombies, and I was talking to somebody about this earlier, just about how much these zombies actually scare me in comparison to like something that we would get from like The Walking Dead. Like these zombies or whatever they're called. I don't even know if they're referred to as zombies. I don't remember.
No.
But the fungus people, the flood,
fun guys.
You know what? They're not too far off from the flood.
Right,
Just
right.
overall thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is going to resonate more. I think people are going to like the more horror aspect of it. And it was great. I mean, gosh, I mean, we'll get into it, but man, like this episode was beautiful to look at. Like I just can't. Again, this was one of those shows where I just really enjoyed every minute of it, and I can't wait to go back and rewatch episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joel, I'm actually very curious to get your opinion on this. Since so I know like Marcelo told us this before we start recording, but you're more familiar with the game through watching me play it, right?
Yeah, that's about it. Couple things here and there. Talked about it with a couple friends. Our friend Q watched the playthrough as well. I saw your playthrough of 2 a little, but that's about it as far as my knowledge goes. I mean, I really enjoyed what I saw when you played it, and you played it kind of, I'm gonna say late. Like we both it was for me again like Odyssey and God of War. It just wasn't spoiled for me, thank God, because there's some major shit at the end of the first game that was like, what? Like, what? Like, it blew me away. I was like, narratively, that was like ballsy as fuck. But yeah, man.
And then, for full disclosure for me, I also actually haven't played this game. I have seen a lot of streamers, a lot of Let's Players, like Brian. I've experienced this game through you. I'm just not a fan of horror games. I don't like to be tense the whole time while I'm playing games. So it's like I just feel more comfortable watching somebody else do it.
No, for sure.
But because I've rewatched it from other people's like experience, like I still retained a lot of what happened. So again, just like that first like 20-30 minutes of the show, like when that tension is building, I was like, oh shit, this is just like what was happening in the game, like almost the same.
No, yeah. And to your point, like even me, I'm not like really into horror games either, but I feel like Last of Us is that perfect blend of storytelling and also just it knows when to kind of throttle that kind of like suspense thriller like segments and then really kind of throw in a lot of like the deep character interaction.
Definitely.
And I thought it was really great. Not going into spoilers yet, but it was just really cool to see what can happen when you have so many creative people all on the same page.
Oh, I know.
Like you have I'm forgetting the director's name at the moment.
Was it like Neil Bruckman, right?
Well,
He was the writer too, right, of the game.
Of the game, he
Neil
executive produced.
Druckmann.
Neil Druckmann executive produced the show, and I believe he's going to be directing a few of the episodes as well. But there's an overall like lead director, and I'm trying to stall to find his name. I feel bad. But yeah, the overall just like I feel like it's just like a perfect storm of just creative minds colliding together and understanding their mission for this show.
Definitely.
This is one of those shows where you see like they were given the creative control to produce good content. Like nobody stepped in and said, "Let's HBO this up." Like, we need more sex. Yeah, you hear? Like, wasn't a bunch of guys in a room smoking cigars, like making decisions about content they have no experience in.
Not yet, though. It's only one episode in, but
it's just letting them take control.
Yeah, exactly. So, hopefully, they stick with the trend and like they avoid what you said, because we've seen that way too many times with HBO already, and especially Warner Brothers.
So why don't we get into this episode? Let's talk about it. Like how do you get like first of all, casting, of course, amazing. I think we have to agree that all the characters in the show, I think, were a really solid casting choice.
Oh, for sure.
Music, great. I'm a big sucker for openings, and I thought the opening sequence was amazing with like the kind of that intro sequence was really cool. I don't know what to expect at first, because it started to get hyped up more and more and more and more and more. And I was just like, all right, let's just hope it follows through because there's been plenty of times where we've had like a recreation of something like this, and we're just so disappointed, like the Uncharted movie. It's like this is it. Like this is what we want when we say we want video game adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to get back to what I was saying earlier, the person I was trying to think of was Craig Mazin. Is the other person that kind of was working in tandem with Neil Druckmann for the show. And what can I say? Are we going into spoilers yet, or
Do you want to go like what we remember by? Just dive right in, or
I'll leave it up to
how much do you want to talk about this spoiler? I guess.
I'll leave it up to the MC.
For the sake of safety, let's just say spoilers ahead. If you guys haven't seen episode 1 of The Last of Us, now's a good time to pause this, come back when you've watched it, let us know what you think, of course. And again, spoilers are coming.
Spoiler warning is enacted. Okay.
You have been warned.
So, having Craig and Neil, as well as just having a great team at HBO just to let them kind of like do their thing, I believe, like a lot of people have been saying, like, oh, this is the best video game adaptation ever made. I'm like, it's really good. I think I think as far as just like all an effort of the all around production, I believe is the most tight knit out of a lot of video game adaptations. Is the best. We don't we still have to see the other 8 episodes that are coming down the season.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, like, where do we be? I guess should we just start from beginning?
Well, hold on. I just want to mention something.
Okay.
Uh, just so you know, Craig Mazin also wrote Scary Movie 3,
Oh.
Scary Movie 4, Superhero Movie, The Hangover Part 2, Identity Thief with Jason Bateman and Melissa McCarthy, The Hangover Part 3, The Second Huntsman, and then switched immediately to like Chernobyl.
Wow. What a fucking turn.
And
then The Last of Us.
Yeah. Quick sidebar. Chernobyl was something Marcelo was telling me to watch forever. And I finally got to it. And that shit was incredibly well written and intense. So I think feeds in perfectly to this show.
Mm-hmm.
But just like it's always funny because people get like typecasted into these things. Like this guy wrote Scary Movie 3 and 4, which are like the bad scary movies, right? Like they're just kind of stupid, but it's like it's not that he's a bad writer. It's just maybe that's what he was feeling like doing. Like fuck it, whatever.
And also,
And now we get
like,
this.
and now you also have to imagine like what position of because there's a lot of writers for a lot of productions, so you have to figure out like where is he in the pecking order as far as like those like credits are concerned. But yeah, like his last like big like main head credit was Chernobyl, and it's like, of course he's gonna be headlining this show because fucking why it has the same flavoring, especially the first scene, which I thought was really well done for the show.
Mm-hmm.
Of just like the whole TV interview from like the mid '60s about these doctors, or not even doctor, but they're
Yeah,
I forgot
it's like it's like an interview about like disease and stuff like that, like
and
the
like
flu
pandemics
and
and
stuff.
stuff like that. But it's really it was a really good just like placement setting for what the audience is about to see. Like, everybody that's played the video game understands what's coming, but for people who haven't played the game, have no idea what The Last of Us is, I felt like this was such a great way to explain what the fuck is about to
Like
happen.
how to set up the world, right?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
set up the world right in such a simple way.
Mm-hmm.
And then what better casting for that role than the uncle from The Mummy. I keep forgetting his name. I feel so bad. I have okay. Warning to everybody out there watching, I am terrible with a lot of actors' names, as you could already tell by my two fuck ups already. But he's the uncle from John Hannon. John Hannon played this researcher who was pretty much explaining like, hey, viruses we've been hanging around with them forever. What's the one thing that's going to get us? Fungus.
Yep.
And the only way it's going to do that is if the temperature of the planet rises.
I
And
know.
so it's kind
yeah.
of like all global warming kind of thing.
Yeah.
But while we review the show, I'm probably gonna keep my knowledge of the game tied to based on what we see in the episode, just in case if anybody out there that hasn't played the games, because there's a lot of people that haven't. I don't want to
Yeah.
kind of start going off into spoiler territory, because this show is going to be very knit close to the main beats of this whole story. So when they came up, when Craig and Neil and everybody, all the writers, were trying to figure out how to produce a show, they came up to the big, huge plot hole that only kind of works in video games, where in the video game Last of Us, the disease that kind of gets put around was done by spores, which is an airborne, infection. In the real world, if this was to be spread around by spores, everybody would be infected immediately.
Right.
And that can't happen. And the only other thing that do is everybody has to wear a gas mask on for the rest of their lives. And that's not going to make for a good show. I mean, fuck. Pedro Pascal is doing a fantastic job as the Mandalorian, but I don't think everybody wants to see an entire cast with people in gas masks being like, "All right, Ellie, we need to go north." So they made the change where it's just kind of like somewhat similar to like how regular zombie things are, but it's the fungus takes control of the person and they get infected and they start to mutate and the fungus takes over, and its main goal is to infect other people, to pretty much just make the fungus spread and grow, right?
It was a good pivot for sure.
It was a
And what's so funny is everybody's like, oh, it's like, of course it's Hollywood. Of course you're not going to pay people to wear masks. No, but I think genuinely it solves a problem that, like, obviously, yeah, of course nobody's going to want to wear a mask around and stuff like that. But I thought it was a good pivot. I thought it made sense. It didn't detract or change anything about it. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, fungus. All right, cool. Whatever.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, it's like if this was spore spread, the moment they take off their gas mask, they're fucked already, because the spores are all over their fucking clothes and like hair and shit. Because in the video game world, fuck it, we don't need to care about that. But like in like a TV show type setting, it's like you kind of have to play within like the world of realism, especially for shows like this. So I thought that was a perfect entry point, like explanation, like, hey, this is how the world works. This is what's going to be happening. It's like, all right, cool, we're in it.
Yeah, because otherwise it'd be like title credits. Joel breathes in, credits. Like, like that's it.
Exactly.
That's all you get.
Yeah, my sleep tap would accelerate that shit.
So, we're kind of in this pandemic, post-pandemic, real world. How do you guys feel about these kinds of things now? Like, do you like about pandemic-esque type shows, like something like this? Does it affect you in any way different? Do you view it differently? Do you consume this type of content differently? Do you not, or do you just not let it kind of affect? Like for me, it's like, oh man, like pandemic, oh we've been there, that kind of stuff. Does it change your guys' opinion about anything? Being as if, we were just in a world where you couldn't touch each other, you had to be separated from each other and stuff like that.
I'll let you
This
answer
is not a
first, Joel.
political. This is not political, by the way. I 100% support
No.
a lot of science and science data driven things, but I just some people are like, I'm not gonna get into it. You know, people.
We've been through it for the past 3 years. It's all right.
Still ongoing.
But Joel, I'll let you answer first.
I think for me, there's even like media we've been consuming for a while, and they'll reference something like, oh, like I forget I was watching. It's like, oh, there's gonna be a chemical pandemic outbreak. I was like, oh, that's a little that hits home a little differently now. I think it makes me a little wary now, but I can understand, like, depending on when it's released. I can understand, like, now I think if it's released around this time, it's like commenting on what happened and how we handled it. Anything before, they totally didn't like consider, but it's kind of funny, like, oh, little did we know. That's
You
always what's in the back of my head.
you know what this conversation. You know what movie this is conversation is actually meant for is The Glass Onion. This pandemic conversation is perfect for that movie. So we should
Yeah.
save it definitely for that bit. Yeah, like for me, like like I watched the movie Contagion with Jude Law and Gwyneth Paltrow like a couple weeks before the pandemic started in 2020, and I was like, what the fuck? Like,
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was like, this is
Predicting the future.
crazy.
Yeah.
I think though, in terms of Last of Us, it's kind of, I guess it's like almost well timed in the worst way, but it's still commenting on what we've been through, what we're gonna go through, and
Yeah.
how it affects us. And I think the number one thing though is like, this happened before, and I guess we forgot or whatever. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy to think that history repeated itself kind of in the worst way, and hopefully it won't repeat itself in another 20 years as well. But it's just crazy. Like, a lot of it, like, it's again, same people were fighting against masks, hooked up to machines, wearing masks around, and I think with this, it just it hits a little harder than I think it would have had we not been through a global event. I don't know. What about you guys?
I feel I've heard some people talk about like this like topic about the show, and I kind of agree with the fact that I think this year, like being like 2023, I think is like the first year where things of this nature can be like touched upon again, like
Without it, yeah.
without it being too close to home and being too like weird. Because we finally have gone through like our first year of like kind of being like out and about again, being like 2022 and shit like that. Still living with it, but I think it kind of feeds into what the first researcher was talking about, where it's like we've been like the humanity has been fighting viruses and like pandemics like this throughout the centuries, and it's not gonna be the first time, it's not gonna be the last time. But then when John Hamm's character points out, it's like, hey, but there's some types of fungus out there. Watch out, because if they start to fucking evolve and mutate, we're fucked. There's nothing you can do. And it's like,
Nope,
it
no
just,
cure, nothing.
it's like, so I feel like having it be like this time now for having the show release, it's like we all understand the severity of what a like viral pandemic can be. So to even think, oh fuck, there's something even bigger and worse that could happen, like sets up the tension and the suspense of like what's about to happen, like following that scene. Um, Another thing I want to kind of praise them for, at least for this episode, is that being as it is a video game adaptation, there are things that they're going to have to add or subtract to kind of make the show work properly. And I think what they did in lieu of, you know, the video gamey parts of Last of Us, like, because in the video game we play as Joel for pretty much the whole time, and there's a lot of like video gamey shit in it between cutscenes and stuff like that. So you can't have that in a show, or at least not in a good show. And so what they did was that they, from what I've read from interviews, is that they've were able to take ideas that they kind of were thinking about while making the game that they couldn't add in because of how a video game works. So
Mm-hmm.
this was like the perfect opportunity for them to like expand on certain ideas and certain characters that they couldn't focus on because you are the main character playing as Joel. Where now it's like, okay, well, for like the first half an hour or so, we get to see like the day of breakout day or outbreak day
Yep.
as Sarah, his daughter. And so like, oh shit, this was actually really cool because in the game you start out on that night of the outbreak, so you
Yeah.
don't get to spend a day seeing what Sarah is doing throughout that day.
Right.
And so it was really cool to kind of see slowly things are starting to kind of be putting into place for this event to happen, and it's like things are starting to like get a little kind of like weird, and the signs are like showing up where it's like, oh, something's not right, something is happening
Mm-hmm.
here. um Also, wild that they changed the date of when Outbreak Day happened because in the video game it happened in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
So they moved it back to 2003 for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty wild to actually see them accurately like depict 2003 again. Cause like just like the little things that you can like notice where like Sarah was at school and they had a picture of Bush
Yeah.
up on the wall, and Joel's cell phone is a fucking
Oh,
Nokia
I
brick.
know. I saw that
I
with
was
the
like,
little plastic cover. I
yep,
was like, God
Yeah.
the
damn.
plastic leathery cover. It's like, oh fuck, that's great. It's like
So
perfect.
let me tell you, I had to rewatch it a couple times. Like I was on TikTok scrolling after, and I did not catch the scene where Sarah's helping her neighbor, and it's like focused in on Sarah, and then you look in the background and you
Oh
see
my god,
Oh
her neighbor
yeah.
like
Yeah, start
starting to like
convulsing.
turn or
Yeah.
whatever. I did
Yeah.
not
dude.
notice that on my first watch. I was like watching something on TikTok and they were like, "Did you notice?" And I was like, "No, no, I didn't
The mo-
notice this."
the moment I saw her start to move, I was like, oh fuck, are they gonna like do it now? Or it's like, oh, it was such a fucking
Yeah. Yeah.
great example of like
It was. It was.
the telltale signs of the shit going down.
That's also, them being able to add these moments that they weren't able to add in the video game really adds to the tension of it all, right? Because you just kind of don't know when it's going to happen. Like it's all kind of ominous, and then like she wakes up, she's like startled because a bunch of shit is going on, and it's like, whoa, like all of a sudden
Right.
all hell's broken loose, right?
Waiting for the shit to hit the fan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I don't know what it is, but I'm a big sucker for so all right, so let's get into it. So, they're driving through town, Joel's picked up Sarah, they're like, let's go, let's do this, whatever. They're moving into town, and you just see like the planes like one after another, like they're just like in line,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
coming down. I was like, that just like
That
it
was
looked so intense, like it was
Yeah.
so crazy to see it that way.
that was a very nice touch because from what I remember, I don't believe that was a thing. Um, if you guys remember, like they are driving into town, right? And then they almost get hit by a truck as they're driving
Mm-hmm.
through the
Yep.
Yeah.
intersection, right? In the game, they get hit by a truck, and that's what happens. So the whole thing with all the airplanes falling out of the sky, that was completely new and different. But it was such a great touch because it
It was.
it added on to the severity of the moment.
Yeah, even in the beginning where you see them back to back at first, I was like, no, no, this is some bad fucking foreshadowing. And then of course later, as you said we just see that one plane just goes down. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, that was
Man.
intense, man. Like that was again tension building, just all you feel.
I want to rewind a little just to
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
go
sorry,
back.
sorry, sorry.
No, no worries. Just a moment that vindicates me a little. So when he picks up Sarah, right, and she's trying to get away from the old lady who's turned, and what I thought was really fascinating is they've already showed like there's like a sign, like there's stuff coming out of her mouth that shows she's clearly not okay.
Yeah.
But there's that moment Joel just has that wrench and fucking like kills her on the spot. I was like, fuck. But it was crazy because it didn't really stop as we see, because someone named Denise is like, Joel, what do we do? And he's like, get back in the house, Denise. Denise, of course, does not listen to a Joel. Listen to your Joels. Anyway, so it's just, if you didn't notice that, Marcelo, when they're driving away, Denise is checking in on the husband, and you see them both get up and they like inform Denise.
Shit, really?
They attack her. Denise
It's
is
so
done.
small, but it's like, oh shit, because like, you're already like feeling the moment of when he kills whatever, or you think he kills the old lady, right? But really, really small. Going away, you see Denise like gets attacked again, or get the old lady comes back and attacks Denise. So
And
there's, oh man, it's just the rising like tension of everything like going to shit is just and it's just really well done in that intro sequence.
bruh,
That second intro sequence.
bruh, and the fucking sound of that wrench. The sound design in this show is top notch.
Yeah.
You hear all the clanks and the clungs and fucking everything. It's so good.
It has to be good for like a zombie post-apocalyptic kind of show, you know. It's believable. They're selling it.
Oh man, what an intro! Just like, and it's cool because you kind of get the POV shot, driving in the truck, kind of like we did in the game, kind of seeing what's
Just
going
like
on,
the game.
just like the game, right? And then they get into the accident, they get out, and Sarah's hurt. Joel's picking her up, trying to walk with her, and they run into the alley, and you see the dude look up, and you're like, oh fuck, here we go. That dude's, for me, what it is the speed of these things. These guys are not like Walking Dead, like you can kind of like,
hell no,
you could like power walk past one and be fine, like you'd be miles ahead of him.
So one thing I appreciate about The Last of Us is that they're like zombie like characters. They're all different.
Yeah.
So the ones that we saw this episode, those are called runners. And they're what you think, like they are the freshest of infected people that have full primal instincts, like locking in, like they're just sprinting ahead, trying to catch as many people as they can. And they are like some of the most terrifying things because they're just like quick and agile, and they just fucking run at you. And you see, they don't care about what they run into because they'll just get back up and keep chasing you until they get you.
Shout out to that stunt guy fucking running into everything at like 30 miles an hour. Damn,
fucking
pay that guy.
Fucking ate it on the
sold it to
counter.
me. Yeah, it's like, fuck. Anyway, keep going. I just wanted to say that guy was
like, we get outside, he's still holding her, and then we run into the army man, which, I mean, we've because we've all had experience with the game as far as watching it. We kind of know what's coming. But I told you guys yesterday, like I knew what was going to happen. I knew that it was coming, and it still wasn't any easier to watch it. It's just so brutal because I guess it's from my standpoint, it's like, of course they're going to do this. Why would they? Of course they don't want this to spread. Of course they're going to do that. And so, you know, the army man is instructed to kill them, right? She's hurt, but they don't know what type of hurt, so they're not going to take any risks. So, they get shot, or at least she takes the brunt of it for sure. And, and then we see what happens. Unfortunately, we don't get much time with Sarah in this.
We get more than we did originally, which is great.
Yeah.
But still, like Nico Parker.
The issue with that is we grew attached. I grew attached to that girl, and like I was like, oh, here we go. Oh,
and see the thing about this scene, because we all knew it was coming, but the make or break of that scene is the interaction between Joel and Sarah. So Nico Parker fucking did a tremendous job for the amount of time that she had as this character. She fucking knocked it out of the park. Like she was completely like just the character. Like she was Sarah in this 30 minutes of time, and then oh god, like the thing that kills me is when Joel's like holding her, and then it gets to the point where like, oh, she's dead. She's
Mm-hmm.
and then she's like, "Oh, come on, baby girl, come on, baby girl." That's the moment I was waiting for, because that's the moment in the game I was like, "Fuck, dude, that fucking hits," and it still fucking hit. They did such a
Mm-hmm.
good job acting that scene. It's fuck.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm just wondering, for people who haven't seen it, how much that was like how much that impacted people who did, just like that's totally like bomb after bomb, and then like boom, and just you're just gonna like. I kept thinking about it, like watching, like they're just gonna show how fucking jaded Joel will become and affect literally everything he does going forward. They said it in like the after show too, but it's like, god damn, like, oh fuck, it's just so good, so heavy, so
Um,
powerful.
Before we kind of move on from like the prelude, I guess we will call it. I also want to give one more shout out to Gabriel Luna. I don't know what he did preparing for the role of Tommy, but he literally just embodied the character. Not only just in mannerisms and just acted like, it was kind of weird because he actually literally started sounding like Tommy. Like,
Yeah.
fuck me, I'm gonna I can't remember the name of the voice actor for the Tommy in the game.
Mm,
Jeffrey Pierce, it says.
Jeffrey Pierce. Holy shit! He sounded like Tommy. It was wild and out of control, and I was kind of sad that for him we also only got him for that small period of time as well. But we're definitely gonna be getting him, because now this episode Joel's now on the search to see like what happened to Tommy, and we'll talk more about that later. But I just wanted to kind of give him like his flowers for this episode, since this is also kind of like last time we see him in this episode. Like, goddamn, Gabriel Luna just does a fantastic job as his role.
Mm-hmm.
so that thing happens, and then now it's 2023. We've now gone 20 years into the future post Sarah's death, and now everything is, all these cities are now, have giant walls up. We see this little child coming up to the door, gets brought in, gets scanned.
That was so heartbreaking.
Listen, man, that kid was probably around my kid's age, maybe a little older. So again, hard thing to deal with. That she's like, how would you like all of your toys and this and this and that and this and this, and then cut to pile of burning bodies. Like, ugh,
Yeah,
rough.
that was. Whew.
Did you guys notice the sign that they showed as they were wheeling the kid in?
No.
So what I love is it's just more world building, where it was a timetable of the spread of infection based on where you got infected at. So it like said like kind of like head to like upper body, it was like 5 to 10 minutes until full infection.
Mm.
Um
Oh, right. The
like
time, the breakdown of the time.
yeah, like arms torso was like maybe like 20 to 25 minutes to like half an hour, and then like foot or leg was like a couple hours to like a day
Yep.
until full infection. I was like, fuck. And like the first thing we kind of see is that the kid has that nick on it on his leg.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, oh shit. It's like,
It's
oh
like,
wow.
it's coming.
You know it's coming, but it's just like neat because we never I don't as far as I know, I don't know if they put in any of the extra kind of like world building like notes from the game. I don't think they ever really specified how long the infection process takes. So I just thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much attention to detail in all these things, like all these props, all this background work. that you really do need to go and give it like a pass or two and kind of really pick it apart because yeah, I mean, there's just so much to it. You get a lot of context just from watching the background in this show, which is great.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that kid, fuck.
God, that one. Oh man. All right, and then what happens next, guys? We're out in we see the police officer guy, right? The security officer meeting with Joel in change of some goods.
Well, I just wanted to touch on the fire pit real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
Before we get that, but just what a way to show where Joel is at this point in the show, where everybody does like menial jobs throughout the quarantine zone to get like ration cards so they can like get food and supplies and stuff like that. But like being the one that has to throw all of the bodies into the fire pit, and then the scene starts with this woman that's doing the job, and then it gets to the truck and she's like, oh, I can't do this. And then Joel looks, and it's the kid that we just saw, and he just like scoops him up, walks over the fire pit, just tosses him. It's like, this shows how broken Joel is after like 20 years of just stewing in that experience he had on outbreak days. I was like, oh fuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then leading back to what you were talking about, Marcelo.
Yeah, so we meet up with Joel and we see him talking to the security officer, of course, doing some shady exchange of goods, promises, he tells him, hey, stay in tonight, don't go out. The Fireflies, which I guess are like a resistance group against the people who are like the government or whatever, right? I guess there's just been a lot of activity with them being aggressive and violent and stuff like that. So, he gets a warning, stay inside, don't come out. All right, cool. And then gosh, I'm trying to remember. I need to rewatch this now because there's just so much happens. Like, I forgot what happened after that because there's just too much going on. I feel like
we literally saw a movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I feel like we see Tess, right? Like getting her ass beat. Yeah.
Getting her ass beat and also apologizing.
Mm-hmm.
which was a weird combination.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm trying to remember here.
So if I remember correctly, let me pick it up for you a little.
Go pick it up for me, please.
We go to Tess, who has 3 other men around her, and like you said, she's apologizing. She got her ass beat, but also she's kind of giving them a subtle warning, like, "Hey, you fucked me up," and they know that because they fucked her up. Like, they're a little scared too, because if one person's gonna come back and kick the shit out of them, or worse, it's gonna be Joel. And she's like, you know what? It's okay. I'll cover you guys, because she's like, I kind of fucked up, but I still need that car battery, right? And they're like, oh well, just please, because it seems like Joel's literally gonna like rip their head off from what they're talking about. And it's a lot of they're going back and forth with some dialogue, and then just like literal boom, there's an explosion. 2 of the henchmen are dead. One of them gets to leave, I think, and then like Tess is all fucked up, and she like recovers from that, and it leads us to another segment where already the Boston police or whatever military, they're fighting the Fireflies. They're literally having a gunfight. There's a sniper saying, you can't oppress us or whatever. And then like Tess is like caught in the middle a little. There's another police force coming to pinch her. And she's like, I'm not with the Fireflies. And like, they don't give a fuck. They're like, get on your knees. They pretty much incarcerate her, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then just what an interesting way to introduce that character, especially the other dude, Robert, who is pretty much the intro to game mechanics of The Last of Us, who kind of gets sidelined a little bit, but I think probably for the best, just because we don't need to see Joel just kind of like fucking learning how to duck and weave through fucking firefight combat. I think that's perfectly fine.
Can you imagine that? Like them just like really like choppy, like be like
The prompt, it says pick up your remote and make Joel move to the left. It's like, oh shit.
Throw down the backpack, fucking make some bandages real quick.
all right.
But
And
yeah.
so then now Joel is trying to leave with Tess, right? To find
Robert.
Robert, right? So they're looking for a battery for their car, and the one that's been promised to them is gone. It's been sold to the Resistance, to the Fireflies. And of course, not too happy about it, a little upset, as one would be in those situations. And then we meet Ellie, right?
Yeah.
Pretty soon after that.
That was.
And they come and ask her, about her distinct wound and how she's just fine.
the amount of energy that
Bella Ramsey.
Thank you. I was trying to remember her last name, but like Bella Ramsey was just like embodying Ashley Johnson as Ellie, because it's like all right, count up to 10, like slowly. It's like 5, 6, 7, 8. Fuck you.
Yeah.
It's like oh, it's like that's the Ellie I know. Hell yeah.
She's pretty in the game. Ellie is pretty sassy, right? She's got she's got a nice bit of attitude, right?
Oh yeah. Like, and no attitude was spared for this show at all. Just a fantastic job. Also, it was really cool because this is a bit of Ellie that we don't get to see.
Yeah.
Because we'll get to that scene a little bit ahead when everybody kind of like meets for the first time. But that's the first time you see Ellie. So this is kind of more context being built upon that first meeting. So it was like, oh, that's interesting. Like the Fireflies were actually kind of like holding her, maybe like checking to see if, it was like a fluke and maybe she'll turn or something like that. But just like to have that first instance of Ellie just being like her, resistant, foul mouth self is just like perfect.
Yep. So tell me, Brian, what happens next? I think they try to go and get their battery back, right?
I believe so. Because we kind of go a little bit back and forth between a little bit of Ellie, and then we kind of saw Joel and Tess kind of make their plan.
Yep.
And so yeah, we finally get to see their plans start to enact. Like, okay, we're gonna go find Robert. We found details of where like the drop is going to be for the battery, so we're gonna go kind of like surprise him.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of
go ahead.
we get to see a really awesome set piece when they start kind of sneaking their way underground to kind of get to like the Firefly lair. And
That's right.
We see plastered on the wall just a out of commission clicker, just kind of like all overgrown and on the wall, and it looks so ugly but also so like nice at the same time.
You just kind of want to stare at it the whole time, like
right. We breathe it in a little.
Wait to see if it jumps out at you.
Yep.
That's right. That's all you got to do is just take a deep breath in,
and you're one with them. That's it. You're on the winning side.
One with the fungus.
Yeah.
So they get to the drop site and shit starts to go wrong for everybody, right? The Fireflies start attacking the Fedra. They all start getting on each other. Shit starts happening. Things are going crazy. And in the midst of all that, Marlene gets hurt, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Marlene is the same person that acted as Marlene in the game.
What? That's awesome. That's cool.
She is returned for her role. I will give you a name in just a second.
Merle Dandridge.
Meryl Dandridge
Or Merrill. Excuse my pronunciation if it's all wrong, but
reprised her role as Marlene, and it's fantastic. I believe in an interview she took, she said it was so surreal because 13 years ago or so, not 13 years, but all those years ago when the first game came out, she never realized that she would grow into the role to be played on film.
Mhm.
And she literally just grew into the character to be in live action. It was like, oh, that's nice.
yeah, I mean what a way like to voice such a because if they're in two games and then to voice this person, all of a sudden you're also bringing them to life like on screen. I think that would be super cool.
Mhm.
That's a cool goal, I think, for a voice actor, right?
Oh yeah,
It's like Bo-Katan too with Mandalorian, right? She
yeah.
literally voiced her and then got to be her. That's just dope. Thanks, Pedro Pascal. Anyway, uh, yeah, and
Connective tissues.
she is injured, right? And before that, though, there's a little interaction between Marlene and Ellie. Like she kind of like starts to get Ellie's trust a little. She gives her things back and even gives her knife, because that's about to come up in a second. But and she's like, "Why aren't you afraid of me?" Because like you got, I can't kill you. You have like a very high purpose very soon. Um, and, uh, you know, after they see that plastered runner, they kind of make their way out with the secret door. Thought that was cool, and they find like bodies already laid out, and of course the battery that they wanted. It's all fucked up. They there's never a chance of them using it,
Yep.
and yeah, just the person they were looking for is already dead. And then Joel and Tess, they see Marlene and her lieutenant, who I forgot the name of, and everyone's like, what the fuck's going on? And of course we get our interaction. Ellie tries to stab the shit out of Joel, and he just kind of like pushes her out of the way against the wall, like wallops her. And of course he's smart, he disarms her incredibly fast. He's like, what the fuck is going on? And we just get a lot of like dialogue interaction from there, which is also seeing like where Joel's at too. He's like, Marlene's saying, I can guarantee you the things you want. You just got to take care of Ellie. He's like, I don't want to fucking do that. Like instantly, he's like, no, I don't want this responsibility again. And even Ellie's like, who the fuck are they? You're already sending me with people I don't know. Like there's that duel. Like they're both like, what the fuck is going on to Marlene? But she, she's injured. She's in no shape to go take Ellie. And with these promises, hopefully Joel will safely bring her to another base and get all these things he wants. And Tess tries to up it like, we get whatever we want. They're like, fine,
Yeah.
whatever, whatever it is to get you guys to actually do the job.
Mm-hmm.
So they accept, and then they're trying to get out of the city. They're going through. They finally get out, and
All right.
oh,
You're forgetting one very good scene. Because of course, before they do, they have to wait for nightfall. So what do? They just hang out at their like little apartment area, which from the whole beginning of that kind of scene is a shot for shot, line for line, just complete same scene as in the video game. Like Joel like laying back on the couch is like, hey, what do you? It's like, hey, what are we gonna do? It's like, yeah, just gonna sit here and wait, and it's just kind of their first like interaction together, like Joel and Ellie's first interaction together, um, and kind of like just a whole interesting thing they've done with like the whole radio where it's like it's a secret transmission, so depending on the era of music is a sign where it's like 60s is like nothing to report, 70s is like, hey, we've got something, and then Ellie asks like, hey, what does the 80s mean? And of course Joel's going to be like, no, it's a secret, you're not going to figure out. And then Like, Joel takes a nap, wakes up, and he's like, oh, he's like, oh, nothing much. Oh, there was a message on the radio. There was a song that said, before you go go. And I was like, of course, it's like waking me up before you go go, and that's an '80s song. And Joel's like, oh shit, and it's like, gotcha. It's like the '80s means there's trouble.
It's like, so she just figures it out, because she's just so sharp, right?
She just fucks around so she can find out things. That's great.
Yeah.
But it was so cool to see that interaction and how faithful like that interaction between them was. And it's like it's important because this is like the first time they actually like are alone and like they have to kind of like be together before like they go on their big adventure.
A big adventure for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, time to go. They go out, they get to the city or whatever, they're escaping, and then right when they're almost all the way where they need to be, they run into that same federal officer who was like, yo, what the fuck? I told you to go. And then it goes crazy from there, right? Because they have to do their infection checks. He's doing his thing. And what did she stab him first?
Yep.
Yeah, right. She stabs him.
Right in the leg.
And then points the gun right at him. And then he starts getting those flashbacks, right? Those Sarah flashbacks.
Yeah.
And he goes crazy. He just goes all out on this guy. Fucks him up.
Full Mando.
Full Mando. Full Mando in his Grogu. He sees his Grogu.
Full Oberyn.
That's right. Even with the eyes.
I just want to say, like, that it was tense, and just again seeing his little scanner when it goes red, I was like, oh fuck. And it's like, how do they get out of this? And then just how it evolves, and then those flashbacks, it sends him, and just that primal thing just takes over. He just fucking kicks the shit out of him. He's like laying his fist into his face. And it's just like, ooh, that was just more heavy shit, and it's really well done. And of course, it's like we got to get going. Other people are coming on the way. And of course, we have that nice, they go, it literally says quarantine zone, don't go here. You're going to be shot on sight. Of course, they all go in. It has this big, big fade out, right? And which is really cool because then the storm starts. See buildings like against each other, dilapidated, of course, which I can't wait to see when we get to that later if they do it. And then, of course, that, another 80s song is playing on the radio, signifying the show, little Depeche Mode, and then
what a choice.
The episode,
what a
right?
choice.
So he picks up just really funny thing that I saw, like, he picks up the rifle. I don't know if you guys have seen the videos where he was like, what the hell, man? I waited 3/4 of the game before I got the rifle. Like,
hey man, it's not his fault that he got the deluxe edition day one.
Right?
That's right. That's what happens. That's what happens when you pre-order.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys. Right when it ended, I was like, "Fuck!" That was like, I literally I really wanted episode 2 right there, like that.
Yeah, I know. I wanted at least 2 episodes of this. I wanted to I wanted to stay in it, but now we gotta wait another week.
So, do you want to hear a wild tidbit?
What's up?
So apparently, originally this was gonna be 2 episodes. It wasn't gonna be like the hour, like 80-minute episode that it was. Originally, the first episode was gonna end when Joel threw the body in the fire. That was gonna be episode 1.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't think that would have worked. I don't think it would have gotten the same response.
Didn't do it.
Yeah.
But still, it's just wild. Another thing, since you guys didn't mention it, did you guys notice at the very end of the episode that on the building tops, as the camera starts panning out, right? Did you guys notice the clicker that was there?
Yeah.
No, fuck. Where was it?
On the left, in the building.
So when the camera's panning out and the lightning is flashing, You look on the left side, and there's a clicker standing on top of the building, kind of like, doing its thing. And if you like listen really hard, you can kind of hear the clicker noise like going off. But it's just like what a what a perfect way to like end the episode and be like, hey, they went out of the quarantine zone. They're fucking in the wild now.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully next Sunday we'll be getting some clicker action with that little tease.
That look ahead, it really solidified me that it's looking good, and the clickers and the cordyceps, all of them. I was worried they were gonna look a little hokey. They look really clean, and I'm excited to see what the creativity they have for them and what they're gonna have them do.
Mm.
Here's a couple crazy things that I'm seeing. So Matthew McConaughey turned down the role to be
God.
Joel,
That'd be such
and
a weird. That's an interesting choice.
All right, Ellie.
and then the other person. I mean, I can kind of see it a little bit, but and then the other person that was kind of in the realm of being Joel was Mahershala Ali, which would have
Interesting.
been interesting.
That would have been interesting.
And they were also thinking about doing like Maisie Williams as Ellie, but she was, by the time they started production, she'd kind of just aged out a little bit too much.
Hmm.
But
Interesting.
I just thought that was interesting. Imagine watching this, but like through the lens of like Matthew McConaughey.
Now, come on, Sarah. We have to get out of here.
I think
Oh,
Mahershala
wow.
Ali is a little too cool. Not that he wouldn't do a great job. I think I'd be too distracted. He's like, man, this is he's too clean in this
It's like, oh,
post-apocalyptic.
it's like, oh man, it's Blade.
Right? That's where my brain would go. Shit, Blade's here.
No. Pedro is great for this. I think he's a great fit.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what comes next.
Oh.
I can't wait for our next touch base on this show. I'm sure we'll probably give it a couple more episodes, but
Yeah.
just really want to talk about episode 1.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
there's so much to talk about. There's like I feel like we could probably like nitpick this whole way through it. Not nitpick in a bad way, just like there's so much stuff.
So much detail. Yeah, I think
So
I
much
need to
detail.
go. So now I need to go back and rewatch the episode. I probably need to rewatch the a let's play of the first game, and then just kind of like get
Watch
re-immersed
me.
into it.
Let's play it soon. That's what you can do.
Yeah.
I don't remember shit.
Hey, Brian? Did you finish Last of Us 2 on stream?
No.
Oh.
I was at that point where I was like, I'm getting too like focused into the game that it would just be a terrible stream to like watch. But watching this episode made me really consider going by Last of Us Part 1 for the PS5 and just play it again with that new remake
New.
up res.
Get it on that 4K.
Oh yeah. But
I forgot to say it, but when the first time Sarah and Joel get separated from Tommy, I felt like that was a video game. I was like, man, Joel could have went around to Tommy, but that was like true cutscene separation.
fucking
like
police car just rams in.
Right? I was like, oh, conveniently they're cut off. Okay.
It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
I know. I just my moment right there.
The attention to detail is top notch, and just like
Good.
what I think sets this apart from a lot of other adaptations, at least adaptations that are intentionally trying to like mimic the games that they are based off of. This one doesn't feel like it's trying to be too glad-handed with all of like the references and stuff like that. It's not trying to trick you into like nostalgia baiting. Like every choice I felt like they made like felt like it was the natural right choice for this episode.
Are we gonna get Crash Bandicoot Easter eggs in this?
Oh, didn't you know Nathan Drake is probably gonna fly in? Just parachute in.
Like, whoa! Kratos is gonna show up. I heard you needed help.
But like, what kind of set me in the mood? It's like, okay, they're actually really going for it. when they get in the truck to try to drive away, right? And we get into that Sarah perspective in the truck, which was great because they kept that the whole entire time, which is straight from the game. But when they drive by that burning house, it's like, oh man, that was Jimmy's place. I remember it so vividly from the game because that same exact thing happens. You drive by and you see a burning house. And when I saw that, I don't know why it was just that scene in particular, but I was just like, shit, they're fucking going for it. They're really sticking to their guns with this. I'm like, all right, I'm invested. Let's go.
Do you think we're going to get? It just feels like so much to get through, but I don't think they're going to be able to do the game in one season, huh?
That's their plan.
They're going to do the whole game in one season.
So their whole goal is to do part 1 in season 1, and then they're gonna get to part 2. Now now they didn't say that season 2 is gonna be all of part 2, so the idea going around is that maybe part 2 will be divided up into 2 seasons. So like seasons 2 and 3 will be part 2. And then from there, who knows, because apparently we are eventually going to be getting a part 3 video game down the line. So who knows what's going to happen. That's the one thing I'm kind of worried about, because I hope they don't go too far with this show to the point where they kind of pull a Game of Thrones where they start doing more than what the games like give, you know?
Yeah, so they are saying, yep, first season will cover the first game and the DLC for the first game.
Oh, you know what? Actually, that's true, because they already kind of mentioned it in the scene where Marlene and Ellie were talking. Marlene brings up Riley, who is a character from the DLC,
right,
that Ellie meets. So that'd be interesting to see how they kind of tie that together.
Yeah, and then they were saying that part 2 would require more than one season. So, which
Sick.
I don't remember part 2 very much. I need to go rewatch that game and see what happens.
There's a lot to happen.
I honestly don't remember the intro of 1, so I think that it felt super fresh to me.
Oh, nice.
Watching it again. So even the whole intro sequence, I was like, "Fuck, this is great," but it didn't ring a bell for me at all.
Fuck, you know what I love? I'd love to get some of our friends that have no idea what The Last of Us is and just have them watch the episode and
that'd
see
be
what
sick.
they think.
All right, Joel. You know what we're doing this weekend?
Stardust Memory and be like, hey, let's wash it down with Last of Us.
What a fucking hard pivot from fucking Gundam 80s Top Gun to fucking Last of Us.
Wait, did you say Top Gun?
Stardust Memory is just basically Gundam Top Gun.
Oh, I thought you said were we watching Maverick now?
It was good. I don't know about making everyone watch it. I will say we were trying to pitch it to some of our friends last night, and I just want everyone. I think this show more than most. I actually want a lot of our friends to actually see it. Like, I'll say, yeah, Mando is great. You know, I love it and whatever, and everything else I've been watching. But this show actually makes me want to, like, you should watch it. Even more than House of Dragon and Rings of Power, which I thought were phenomenal last year. And I was like, check it out, you know, if you can. But this one, I'm like, please watch this show. Like, already.
Stop what you're doing and watch it.
But, I mean, we're also, you know, one episode in. We joked last night, like, it's going to totally shit the bags and do some Rambo shit, you know, next episode. And totally like, hey, what's up, Cordyceps? Feel a little fun? You know, it's like, I don't think they're going to do that, though. And just based on the tone already, I'm very hopeful, you know. And I just want to segue into, like, I mean, I was gonna say, what do you think your expectations are gonna be for the show? I honestly, like, already going to that question, like, I think they're gonna be met, like, and more. It's on this first episode, you know. If
100%.
I'm wrong, damn, but
100%. I think it's in good hands. I think they have a good game plan. They're not in it to make 9 seasons out of it. Like, they want to tell the story, and then they're good with being done, and I appreciate that, because Again, we've been in a lot of situations where it doesn't need that many seasons, or why are you trying to stretch it out, bro? Like it's over, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, that was episode 1, guys. And like I said, I can't wait to talk about this again as more episodes get in.
Oh hell yeah!
And
Hell yeah.
yeah, this was awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see more.
Yeah.
Same. I just want to shout this out real quick. Not a sponsor or anything, but if anybody watches this episode, go listen to the Last of Us podcast, hosted by Troy Baker, who is the original voice of Joel from the video game. Really cool. Listen, he had Craig and Neil Druckmann on the first episode just to talk about the first episode in more detail. Now I'll kind of leave it off with this, which I think is a perfect explanation of what the show is. Troy says, don't think of it as a adaptation of the video game. Think of it as a companion to the video game, and I totally agree.
Totally.
Agreed.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Now, is this the companion podcast that says listen to the companion podcast on HBO podcast or whatever? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it's just the Last of Us podcast, and you can just listen to
Okay,
it on YouTube.
cool. I'm gonna check that out.
It's an audio only podcast, but it's a really good listen to. If you enjoy those like HBO like after episode little like sneak like behind the scenes things, this is like an hour long podcast for each episode, kind of like The Talking Dead, where it's just they'll have guests on every week that are from the show, and they'll just talk about all the behind the scenes stuff. It's a good listen.
Cool. All right. And with that, guys, I think we're wrapping. Uh, Joel, where can we find you online if we want to check out some of your fungal content? Ugh, that sounds gross.
God.
No, never mind.
Like
Oh,
Oh,
no.
no, I'll take
You
that.
don't want to. Never mind.
couldn't make it halfway through that sentence.
Oh no, I couldn't even finish it. Where can we find you at, Joel?
Acoustic Avenger on Twitch, Mad Mick Monster Mine on TikTok, Spotify, SoundCloud. Where can we find you, Marcelo?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at M90Plays. And that's it for now. What about you, Brian? Where can we find you?
Well, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch at Brian Saber, as well as Twitter and Instagram at Brian_Saber as well.
And with that, guys, thank you for letting me be your Joel today. Thank you for letting me be your shepherd. And with that, guys, keep on nerding.
Don't fuck this up, HBO. Don't fuck this up.
When in the dark, look for the light.
We're gonna fuck this up.